Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me today on Cook and Bake with Samir. What I'm going to show you today is how to make your own homemade tomato sauce to use in pasta, spaghetti, lasagna, and from it actually also you can derive to make from it also the pizza sauce. All you have to do is just not use the onions as part of the recipe. What I'm starting with here is I have water boiling over here, and I'm going to drop my tomatoes because I need to peel them. I have 3 pounds of Roma tomatoes that I've already scored, ready to be dropped in. I'll drop them in for about a minute and a half. Take them out, put them in some cold water real quick so I don't burn my hands while I'm peeling them. And then I will finally dice them or chop them. And then we'll go from there. We'll show you what we're going to do. We're going to make homemade tomato sauce for it. Now our tomatoes have been here for a minute and a half. So I have some cold water here. If you want to put ice, you could. I'm not going to. Really, you don't need to. But the main purpose is for them to really cool off so you don't burn your hand. They're already, as you could see, they're already wanting to peel. They're starting to peel. And that's what we want. And look at that. And I'll show you here in a second how we're going to peel them, and I'll cut one of them for you in front of you. Yeah, they cool off quickly. See, look how very quickly they peel just by themselves. Look at that. And beautiful here. Look at that here. Okay, let me cut one of them up for you. I know you've seen me do this before in other videos like the green beans and things like that. We gotta take the core out. So, and also save the juices, by the way, for the tomatoes. Do not throw them out. So that's why I kind of turned my board around to have the edges continue to hold. What I need to do is I really need to chop them small. So here, if I need to move those out of the way. There we go. So we're cutting them into what this is about half an inch in size. And for the Roma tomatoes, you don't have to go sideways too much because they're already not very thick like the other steak tomatoes or the other type of tomatoes. Okay, I'm going to continue doing these, and then we'll come back to our next step in making our tomato sauce. I diced my tomatoes, chopped all our fresh herbs for our tomato sauce. We'll go through the ingredients as we're going through it right now, and also I'll give you suggestions of what you can substitute for the fresh ingredients that I have. But first, let's start with I have the saute pan here already warmed up, and we're going to add our 1/3 cup of olive oil. We need to heat it up for a couple minutes. It's all depending on your pan. I mean, if your pan doesn't heat up very quickly, you might need 3 minutes, 4 minutes. And I've already chopped. It's about 1.25 cups. It's a medium-sized onion. They're already chopped over here that I'm going to put, and we're going to saute them until they become translucent. I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of salt, but we're going to be adding 3 cloves of garlic, but because the clove of garlic, when I was mushing it, I had a 1/2 teaspoon of salt added to it to make it easier to smush over there. So let me see here. Here, you want to test it? It's good. It's ready. Be careful there when you're putting it in, especially in case you had water in the onions. You don't want to put it in there and get burned from it. And I have it right now on medium heat for the onions. And we're going to saute them for probably about, it might end up being about 5 minutes until they become translucent. But I want to, in about a minute or two, minute and a half to two, I'm going to add the salt. I need them to sweat in the oil. That's the purpose of also adding the salt right now and later. So all that sweetness from the onion will come out into the pan. And as I said, 1.5 teaspoon of salt here. We're adding because we had already, so technically 2 teaspoons, but we already used half a teaspoon with the garlic. And the reason I'm using the saute pan and not the Dutch oven on this because it's a big quantity and I need them to dry up a little bit. The tomato sauce, because we're going to have them in the meat, we're going to have it in the lasagna. We don't want watery sauce in there. And you'll see right now, we'll talk a little bit also about the tomato sauce itself, what you can use it for, with all the herbs that we're going to be having in there. Right now, today, we're dicing everything, but if you needed to use the exact same sauce for pizza or for any other, if you really wanted it creamy, there are two things. You can put it in the blender after they're done, or you can use the immersion blender as well. And I've done it both ways. I use this sauce for pizza. For the pizza sauce, I usually don't put the onions in there. Definitely not. You don't want to put the onions. But so you can use it again for other spaghetti sauce. But I'm making it chunky today. Look at the beautiful onions. You could see how they become translucent in color. And we don't want them to get more than this right now because they're going to be continuing to cook. And here I have 3 cloves of garlic that I've already smushed before. And as I mentioned, they have also about half a teaspoon of salt in there. And we're going to mix them in there and have them cook with the onions for about a minute. They don't need more than that because we just want them to sweat a little bit together with the onions. That will also get rid of the strong raw garlicky taste as well. This is great. It's a great aroma over here with the garlic and the onions right now. Here are the tomatoes that I diced by hand and with all their juices there. The garlic has been in there for a minute. Now we're adding our tomatoes. Oh, look at that sauce. Look at that. This is going to be yum, yum, yum. Beautiful, beautiful. This is going to be so tasty. But now we haven't even started adding our fresh herbs. So with the herbs, I am adding fresh herbs from the garden where I chopped them myself. And these aren't dry. These are literally fresh. If you are purchasing Italian herbs, for example, I would use 2 tablespoons of mixed Italian herbs and on top of that, 1 tablespoon of oregano. I know the mixed Italian herbs have oregano in it, but we need more oregano. So what I have here, I have 1.5 tablespoon of fresh oregano and 1.5. I'm sorry. This is half a teaspoon of rosemary. I did not label my containers. This is the 1.5 tablespoon of thyme, And a little bit I'm going to add also finely chopped. I first chiffoned them, and then I chopped them some more of basil, fresh basils. But again, the Italian herbs will have all those in there. So, and again, with the reason the dry ingredients we're using less because they a little bit more concentration in the amount of um, ingredients compared to the fresh. Now here, as you see, and while I was chopping the tomatoes, by the way, if you see my green beans recipe when I'm using the fresh tomatoes, we take these out, and I just saw one here that I missed before. This is from the core from inside, so I'm just going to take it out. And when you're cutting them, if you find some that are white like this, take it out. If you don't take it out, it's not going to hurt anything. But I like to do that. And now I'm going to turn the heat to high because I want them to start to get to a simmer. And right now also I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of sugar. There we go to our tomato sauce here. The sugar is an important ingredient within the Italian tomato sauce family. It gives it a little bit more of that sweetness. And the reason we're using Roma tomatoes, now if you don't have Roma tomatoes and you use the regular ones, it's okay. But the reason we're using the Roma tomatoes, they're not as tart or tart or acidity. They don't have as much acidity as the other tomatoes might. So because with the Italian, as you see, we concentrate on the seasoning and adding all these herbs in there. Oh, can you see all these fresh herbs? I know I could see them with my, looking at them. But can you see all these little green things? It's beautiful. And oh, the aromas, it's amazing. It is amazing. It's starting to boil here. Let me see. I think I'm going to go ahead and add my. They were technically 7 or 8 large ones of dry of I'm sorry, fresh basil. Now, if you don't have the fresh basil, if you have dried basil, you want to add another tablespoon of this. It's okay. If you don't, the ingredients I gave you are good because they already have the basil in the Italian seasoning. Oh, this is nice. This is beautiful. And what we're going to do is I'm going to leave it uncovered. After it starts boiling, I'm going to lower it, which is starting right now, but I'm going to lower the heat to low, and I'm going to let it simmer for about an hour and a half. As I said earlier, we're going to let these simmer for about 1.5 hours. They've been about an hour right now, and I moved them to a different stove area because I need to use this area here. And you can see how they've become just a little bit on the. They're starting to get to become grouped together. And I also want to right now add 1 teaspoon of pepper. We could have added earlier. I just want to add it a little bit later. Uh, it just so I wanted the herbs first to mix together and flavor the tomatoes that are in there. So that's the purpose. But you could add the pepper right at the beginning. It's not going to hurt anything. And in the meantime, our tomato sauce is also ready. They've been simmering for an hour and a half. So let's see how they are. See, look how it's become. It's not liquidy. It's more of not a paste. Obviously, if we use the immersion blender, they would have become a paste. We want to taste a little bit here. Okay, but it's hot. Let's see. Oh, yum, yum, yum. Oh, this is nice. This is nice. Consistency is excellent. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button. Give me your comments. I always love to hear from you. And try it out. Let me know how it goes. You can do it ahead of time, refrigerate it for a few days before, if you're planning a big pasta lasagna meal, or even a small one. You can make some, put them ahead in the refrigerator for a few weeks, and you can also freeze them in the long run. Again, thank you for being with me today. You take care. Bye bye.